Hello, everybody. This is Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat, and with me tonight on Tuesday for the Foreigners Throwback show, as always, my partner in crime, So Real Suneil from So Real Sports Talk TV. How you doing, Suneil?
I'm doing well, man. Got off of work, checked my Twitter, and just my phone exploded, man. So much news just happened in the last few hours, I feel like, for 49ers. So excited to get on here and talk to you about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the 49ers are the gift that keeps on giving throughout the offseason. Over the weekend, I was talking with some family members, and they were asking kind of what I'm doing now that the season's over with when it comes to the 49ers. And I said, I'm still writing on a daily basis. It's one of those things where there's always something coming up, right? The 49ers never fail. And today there was 3 new stories between Deebo Samuel,
Jimmy and Alex Mack.
Jimmy Lance. Jimmy
Lance.
That'd be something. Right? Jimmy
You just solved the 49ers quarterback situation.
That's right. Between Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, Alex Mack, yes, Trey Lance. There was some news about Daniel Brunskill and Juwan Jennings today as well. So it's been nonstop today. It's been one of those busy days. So let's just get right into it. The latest on Deebo Samuel, I think that'd be the starting point that pretty much everybody wants to talk about. It seems like it's blowing up on Twitter at the moment, but things with Deebo Samuel are starting to get a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think it started off with the Adam Schefter report. So I don't know if you want to touch on that first before we get into this, because I think that's what kind of spawned this second iteration of Deebo news, right?
Well, I think before we even get into the Schefter report, I think you need to kind of go back. You need to go back to yesterday with the report that Deebo isn't going to be showing up. Deebo Samuel won't be showing up to work out with the 49ers this offseason. I think that's the first bit of news that really, with this whole process, should have thrown some people a bone to folks, knowing that this is different. Throughout this entire offseason, kind of the talking point when you've discussed Deebo Samuel and this contract situation, everybody's pointed to, don't worry, look at what's happened in the past. Look at the way that it went with the with Fred Warner. His deal didn't get done until right before the season. Don't worry about it. Same thing. Look at what happened when they did the deal for George Kittle. It was contentious. It went on and on and on, and it didn't get done until August. So the same thing's happening now. And yesterday's news of Deebo Samuel not showing up to work out with the team, that was a difference from both of those deals. When George Kittle had his deal coming up, they weren't able to have the practices in Santa Clara because of COVID, but he attended all the stuff virtually. And then he had everybody out to Nashville for a workout with, all the quarterbacks and receivers were out there, and tight ends and so on, running backs. So the team the special guys got together and worked out in 2020 together. And then last year, Fred Warner was in the same boat, and he showed up to all the workouts in Santa Clara. So that was the first indication that this was different. And then you have what happened today with Schefter. And I want to talk about the Schefter piece afterwards, just kind of get your idea just on Deebo not showing up.
Yeah, I mean, so Rohan Chakravarti posted this thing up when Denzel Ward got his contract extension, right? So he ended up getting more money, more guaranteed money than J.C. Jackson, who I think most people would say J.C. Jackson is, the better player. He was in free agency, right? And Ward got a better extension than JC got in free agency. And Rohan was the first person that pointed this out that I saw, was that, look, that's the same agent that Deebo has. So basically we just saw an agent take a player who doesn't have maybe the accolades or the prestige of a different player that was in the same, off season, and go get a bigger contract than that player. So when you put that and say, okay, well, we just saw Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams go out and get paid. We've seen a lot of these other receivers go out and get bank. And then one of the biggest, arguments for people saying, well, Deebo hasn't put up the type of numbers consistently that these guys said. Well, Deebo has an agent who just showed that regardless of what the production might be compared to other players, I'm going to get my guy the type of money that he wants. So that was the first thing that I saw, Jack, where I was like, ugh, all right, this is gonna go a little bit different, because I was somebody from the jump. When I saw the way that Deebo did everything off Instagram, it's different from how other people use a negotiating tactic, right? Most people scrub their whole Instagram and then they just put up certain pictures. Deebo archived or deleted only specific stuff that had to do with the 49ers. So already, to me, this was Deebo saying that he doesn't need the 49ers and was already on his way out. I wasn't so shocked that he's not coming to the offseason stuff, just because I already saw this happen. Deebo's not coming until he gets the money that he wants. And I don't know if the 49ers are willing to give him that type of money. So in my mind, I already had mentally that 80% chance Deebo is getting traded.
Yeah, I think for me the thing here is I don't blame Deebo Samuel for anything that's going on. I know that there's some people that seem to really want to be bugging, getting on him, but I don't see this being Deebo Samuel at all. I think, let's just get into it since you mentioned it earlier. You had the reports from Adam Schefter today on ESPN. He comes out and says that this is all on Deebo Samuel. The 49ers want to pay him. The 49ers want to do a deal. They want to get it all done, yada, yada, yada. It's all Deebo Samuel. And that's 100% baloney. It just is. There is no way the 49ers can give Deebo Samuel the money that he deserves based on the market rate for wide receivers at this point. They can't get a deal done. So let me take a step back and explain why. When you get a signing bonus, that gets prorated over 5 years. Right now, the cheapest signing bonus of the big four that got signed was Devontae Adams at 19.25. Part of the reason I think that he took the 19.25 on the signing bonus is because he got 66 point whatever million guaranteed, right? Because the 19.25 signing bonus for Adams is actually less than what DJ Moore got from Carolina. He got 19.5 on the signing bonus. So even if you just stick at 19.25, let's just stay at the low number right there. That puts the 49ers already at Deebo Samuel's cap number for 2022. That's not even adding in the base rate that he needs to get on his contract, which is another $1 million. The 49ers don't have the space on their cap to do it. I wonder why, right? I made the mistake early on in the process of saying that Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't going to keep the 49ers from doing a deal with Deebo Samuel. He's absolutely killing the 49ers in this case. They're choosing to keep Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster is why they can't get a deal done for Deebo right now, or they're maybe so far apart on the numbers. Because what the information that came out from Adam Schefter today is 100% coming from the 49ers. It's not coming from anywhere else. Today's report from Adam Schefter was Schefter 100% shilling for the 49ers.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Jack. Like, I was one of the people that said, the Jimmy isn't going to affect this 49ers offseason, and technically, quote unquote, it's not, because eventually they'll either move or cut Jimmy, and then they could do the deal for Deebo. But as far as the timing of this whole situation, it is affecting that, and it seems like the timing is important to Deebo. Like, he doesn't want to wait. And it's funny because I think that because the 49ers aren't necessarily just jumping on it and giving him the contract, or even giving him the sense that they're going to give him the type of money, because we got to really believe Deebo is super unreasonable to think that the 49ers aren't saying, hey, we're going to this is what the deal we have. This is what we're going to do. We just have to wait to trade, cut Jimmy, whatever the case may be. And the day we do that, we're going to be able to sign this. And then everything would be cool, right? But it seems to me that if Deebo's reacting the way that he's reacting, and let's say the Schefter news, and, I have my own beliefs about Schefter and, how credible of a person he is these days. But let's just say that it is true, and Deebo's not happy, or not looking to sign right away. To me, I think it's more about he's not feeling the respect that he thinks he deserves. And I'm with you as well, man. I'm on Deebo's side. As far as this, I think that a guy that's given what he's given, if he's feeling, I don't necessarily get the type of vibes that people get. That Deebo's a diva. The way he plays, he puts his heart out on the field every single game. To me, that's just not somebody who all of a sudden is just like I'm not. I'm just gonna be a diva and not care and all that kind of stuff. I think he cares deeply. I think he wants to get paid. He's an older receiver. He's not necessarily, he's a guy who plays very aggressively, so he knows this payday might be his biggest payday ever in his career, and give him a chance to set up his family for life. He needs to strike when the iron's hot, and so I don't blame him at all. It's just the 49ers being the 49ers might have bitten off more than they could chew.
Yeah, we don't know, right? Because we're never going to know everything until somebody comes out and says it. But right now, everything is kind of in the background, right? What was it? A month and a half ago, you had Deebo Samuel coming out and telling one of the writers to not talk about his money and all that kind of stuff, right? Now,
Right.
look where we are. We're from where that started to now. Uh, how far everything has kind of disintegrated around this situation, and who knows how bad it is. I know I've seen some numbers thrown around too, as far as the likelihood that Samuel gets traded, and with the way the Flyers are doing business right now, it would make sense for them to lose probably the best player on their team with the way that they're doing business, the moves that they've made so far this offseason, and really starting with Jimmy Garoppolo still being around.
Right. And you know what? It's funny because I'm looking at the comment section, Jack, and most people they'll trade him, right? And I think that, unfortunately, I think the fan base is split on Deebo. I think you and I are on the same page where I think Deebo is a more of a plus than a negative. I think you've said he's the best receiver the 49ers have had, since Jerry Rice, or at least is on the trajectory to be that way. I agree with you, man. I think that this guy is somebody who's a game changer, one of one, like a lot of people like saying. I'd be sad to see him go, but I'm also somebody right from the beginning when that Instagram stuff happened that said there's like a better chance Deebo gets traded than gets re-signed. And it's just, I was just reading the tea leaves at that point.
Sure. I hear you. And real quick, before I go on, I want to bring this up because I just think this is what we're dealing with what I see so much when it comes to 49er fans. And I'm not trying to be any kind of way, but I think you need to kind of maybe take a step back here and really pay attention to what Deebo Samuel is. And I continue to see comments like this throughout Twitter on a regular basis. Would you pay Deebo $25 million for 2019, 2020, 2021? He isn't consistent. He knows this season was a fluke. Okay. I'm going to try to choose my words wisely here. And instead of really giving a response, here's what I'm going to say. As a rookie in 2019, Deebo Samuel had 961 total yards from scrimmage. He had 6 touchdowns. That was his rookie season. Jerry Rice, as a rookie, had 953 yards from scrimmage and 4 total touchdowns. That was Rice in 16 games compared to Samuel in 15. In 2020, we obviously know that there was the injury issue with the pulled hamstring and the foot issue, which really kind of kickstarted a lot of the issues that he was having that year. He came back this year. He had Samuel put up 1,770 total yards from scrimmage and 14 touchdowns. It's the second highest total in 49ers career history or franchise history for a wide receiver, behind Jerry Rice, who had 1,884 with 16 touchdowns in 1995. I'm sorry, if you think that Deebo Samuel is inconsistent, Deebo Samuel hasn't proven himself to be among the best wide receivers in the league. I got to ask, what are you watching? Okay, because if you go back, look at the big four, the big three: Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs.
Oh, Stephon Diggs, okay.
Right? If you go and you take a look at their numbers from their first 3 seasons, the only person who has better numbers through the first 3 seasons than Deebo Samuel is Tyreek Hill. when Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill, I know that he's now the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. This was his third deal. When you go back and you look at what Tyreek Hill's second deal was, he became the second highest paid wide receiver in the league back with that second deal that he signed with Kansas City. Deebo Samuel should get that same kind of number. He should be in the range of $60 to $70 million guaranteed. I don't care about the signing bonus piece. I'm not really even talking about the fully guaranteed at signing number, but his total guarantee should be in the $60 to $70 million range. I don't know what you think on that.
And for all the people, like, I mean, who was throwing the ball to Jerry Rice his rookie year?
Yeah, I don't get into that one.
but I think it matters. Okay, go ahead.
No, I disagree, though. And the reason I disagree is because if you go back and you look at Jerry Rice's greatest wide receiving season with the 49ers, I believe it was 1986, right? Mm-hmm. I think that was his highest number of receiving yards. I think it was like 1,800 yards or whatever that number was. His best receiving season with the 49ers was a season in which he only played 8 games with Joe Montana. It's crazy, I know. But if you look at Jerry, I mean, obviously.
But here's the thing. We can minimize it. Okay, go ahead.
And I'm not trying to minimize it because I don't think you're wrong. But I'm just saying, Jerry Rice put the numbers up with whoever he was playing with, and I think it's the same thing here when it comes to Deebo Samuel. He put up this season. He would have put up the second highest numbers in history of the 49ers for a wide receiver if they had just let him play wide receiver all year long. But instead, they asked him to do this running back thing. His targets get cut in half. His receiving yards over the second half of the season go down. And so his numbers don't look good. It's not even Jimmy Garoppolo being the quarterback as much as it is what they asked him to do because of what they needed to because of Garoppolo, right? And kind of in the direction you're going, I feel like if you keep him and you keep him with Trey Lance, the sky is the limit between the two of them.
And all those other guys that you mentioned with Devontae Adams, he had Aaron Rodgers throwing to him. I don't think there's much of a argument who's better at quarterback, Jimmy or Aaron Rodgers. Tyreek Hill had Patrick Mahomes, not much of an argument. Kirk Cousins to Diggs, Josh Allen to Diggs, obviously Josh Allen, I don't think there's much of a discussion. To me, there shouldn't be a discussion between Kirk Cousins and Jimmy, but some people might argue that as well. But I would say he's getting similar production, better production with a quarterback that getting more people doesn't throw the ball down the field very much. And those other receivers are getting the benefit of getting deep passes thrown to them consistently and getting chunk yardage there. So for me, what Deebo's doing is even more spectacular than what some of these other receivers are doing. And another thing is a lot of people are saying, oh, this year is a fluke. And I think you just put the case that no, the injury year was the fluke. The other years, he's putting up really nice production and consistently getting better and better year after year. So for me, I think it would be a big mistake for the 49ers to let Deebo go. I think they're in the media right now trying to change the narrative. And I think that's more of a tell, Jack, that Deebo's probably gone. Because if the team is trying to make it seem like they're not the bad guy, this is a Deebo decision. When they trade Deebo now, and we're seeing some of the guys in the fan base, it's Deebo's the problem, not the team making the type of moves that they need to make sure that they don't let this gem of a player go. And like you said, I have to now be on where everybody else, man, they kept Jimmy. And unless Jimmy's going to be on the team, it seems like this is a bad calculation if Deebo ends up walking because they aren't able to get the deal done soon enough for him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's the case that you just made is a pretty strong one as well, that would be a big issue for the 49ers moving forward and that getting out in front of it and letting Adam Schefter be the one that's taking the bullets because he's the one that's putting out some misinformation. That's the team getting behind and getting ready to possibly make a move off of their best player. And if you're a 49er fan, there is no way that you should support this move if that's the direction that they go.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very unfortunate because we just saw this happen with Kansas City, right? Like Kansas City just got lost one of their best receiver, right? And there wasn't all this drama. It was just, hey, we couldn't come to terms on a deal, so we're allowing Tyreek's team to seek a trade, right? And now, unfortunately, what the 49ers are doing is completely different, where they're trying to make the player look bad versus just saying, hey, we couldn't come to a terms and, we're going to just go our separate ways. I just think it's a bad look for the team overall. And, it's just unfortunate, more and more, Jack, is pushing me towards how does Deebo come back? How does Deebo come back when you do this in the media? How does Deebo come back when you're not, just going out and saying, hey, we're going to make him the type, or if you're undercutting him on money or whatever the case be? Why would Deebo want to come back to a team that after what he put up last season, this is even a question mark? Like, this should have already been done. This should already have been, settled. And, it's just unfortunate because, it's going to be hard to replace Deebo, and it puts a lot of pressure on Lance now because look, those other quarterbacks that lost big receivers, I think that they are going to be fine because they know that the level of quarterback they already are, they're going to be able to make other receivers produce and so on and so forth. Trey now has to shine without one of the biggest stars that he had on his roster. If this ends up going the way that I think it is, and Deebo is no longer a 49er come draft day.
Yeah, sure. No, you're right, and that'll be. We'll see what happens. That's the as I wrote yesterday. That's the next point in time that we look towards. Right, is if the 49ers are going to move Deebo Samuel, it's going to be done by Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Next Friday, it'll be done It'll probably be done before day 2 of the draft even kicks off because they're going to want to have those picks, and it's probably going to be done on Thursday, realistically, because they're going to want to get
a first rounder for it,
a first or two for him, right?
Uh-huh.
So I think that's really the case. But there's a couple of other questions that I want to, or comments that I want to hit on. But before I do that, real quick, there was a shout out. I want to throw this one out there. Mariah, what's up? She says, "What's up, fellas? What's up, Mariah? Good to have you in here. Hope your channel's doing well as well." And I'm going to bring this one up, and this one's more to me, but I'll let you throw in on this one too if you'd like. But Baymax says, "Please don't compare Deebo to Rice. It's not respectful, even if you're a diehard Deebo fan." I completely disagree, and it's not disrespectful to anybody. Jerry Rice is a big Deebo Samuel fan. If you haven't noticed that already, that he wants to see Deebo Samuel do well. Deebo Samuel's never going to catch Jerry Rice when it comes to the all-time career numbers, but you can very easily compare where they are year 1, year 2, year 3. I understand it's hard to do for a lot of folks because the way that Jerry Rice's career ended, right? That in the end he was in the Hall of Fame. That they won Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowls, during his time here. I think fans forget that 85, 86, and 87, the 49ers didn't make the Super Bowl. They didn't even make it to an NFC Championship game during that time. So, when you look at the first 3 years of their career, they match up pretty darn well. And so I don't have a problem with comparing Rice to Deebo. I've watched them both. I've paid way too much attention to 49ers football over the last 42 years. So I feel like if there's somebody that's going to talk about it, it's me. And I don't mind putting my neck on the line. I'm not telling you that Deebo Samuel is going to end up being Jerry Rice. What I'm telling you is that the first 3 years of his career, 2 of those 3 are on the level of Jerry Rice. Not all 3, but 2 of them are. And this guy is the best 49ers receiver that's played since Jerry Rice. I know Terrell Owens was a Hall of Famer. Terrell Owens wasn't Deebo Samuel. Not in his first 3 years. He wasn't Deebo Samuel until 2000 after Steve Young got hurt and Jeff Garcia started throwing the ball around.
Can you ask you a question, Jack?
Sure.
Do you see a path back with how things are getting so contentious? Have you seen in the past a path back is there any scenarios that you could see that have gotten to this point that things could come back and work?
I mean, I don't know really the contentiousness of it. That's the first thing. Today is the first time I've seen something like that from Deebo Samuel. I know he wants to get paid. The Schefter report, I think, is the 49ers trying to get out ahead of a story that's going to probably come next week. The more that I look at this, and like you said, you're selling me on the idea, and I kind of am starting to follow suit with that, because that is what the 49ers do, right? And the problem with it is that the 49ers do that, and there's a number of folks that are going to just follow them, and they're going to believe that it's right. They're going to blame the receiver for wanting too much money, when in reality he deserves he is an athlete who deserves to go after the biggest payday that he can get, especially with a wide receiver and with NFL football players and the short careers that they have. And he deserves to go out there and get everything that he can paid. And if the 49ers are going to screw it up, that's on them. It's not on Deebo Samuel. And I think people should realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is a bad look for the team. I'll still be a 49er fan, but this is definitely, if they let Deebo walk, I don't know. I just think that they need to look in the mirror, because how many players like Deebo are walking through the building, and who knows? Maybe Brandon Ayuk and Trey could be the quarterback we all expect them to be, and maybe it won't be as big of a loss, but we shall see.
Yeah, and then this brings up a topic that I heard somebody asked earlier, or I dealt with earlier. On a show that I do with Grant, but Double B Studio, thanks for the donation. He says, Deebo saw the playbook and prefers Jimmy over number 5. What do you think of that one?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if, I definitely think Brandon Ayuk and Trey seem to have a better relationship than Deebo and Trey. I don't know if that means that Deebo and Trey don't have a good relationship, because when I saw Deebo cheer on Trey when Trey scored last season touchdowns, like I remember making a tweet that said, these guys like Deebo cheering, I've never seen Deebo cheer like this with Jimmy. So I don't know if it's a playbook thing. I just think that Deebo will, I don't know. I don't think I could get on board with that. I think Deebo, the type of player he is, knows he's going to get the ball and he's going to be successful as long as he gets the ball, whether it's in the backfield, whether it's on screen passes, whether it's down the field. I think Deebo believes that as long as the ball's in his hand, he's going to be successful. So I don't see why he would feel that Jimmy would be a better fit for him over Trey. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it either. I think Deebo Samuel prefers to play with Trey Lance if he has the opportunity to. If you go back to last year, I don't remember which game it was. I thought it was the Raiders preseason game. Might have been the Seattle game when they played here. But there was one of those games where Deebo Samuel was mic'd up, and before the game, if you probably remember hearing this, where he tells Trey Lance, everybody's going to learn your name today. They're all going to see what you're about. Right. And then I think that Deebo and Trey and Brandon Ayuk, I think that threesome has a good rapport. I think it's just a matter of they're all at the same time. Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback last year. They're not going to come to a press conference and totally blast him. And they might have felt okay with Jimmy. They might have trusted him, but I think deep down they know that the long-term future was with Trey, and that's who they wanted to go with and they want to play with.
Yeah. And Trey on his contract, you would think that Deebo understands that. And that's why he's like, pay me now. Like, you don't even have to pay one of these quarterbacks $50 million like some of these other teams are doing. Right. So this should be, Deebo getting his money. And, unfortunately, they have money invested in Jimmy that's still on the books. And you mentioned it. They can't sign him when they're paying $27 million to a guy that, possibly won't even be on the team come draft day. I don't know. We'll see.
Unless you're expecting him to be the starting quarterback, right?
Right.
Which begs a whole lot of other questions. And then Lukey here, he says, Deebo thinking if his name was called more in the Super Bowl, the Niners would have won. Same goes for the NFC Championship game versus the Rams. Yeah, possibly, right? I mean, in both games, Kyle Shanahan forgot who number 19 was.
Yeah, I mean, but I also don't think he goes to another situation that might be better for him. Like, is there going to be a better play caller and the teams that, that are eyeing him. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that it's a good situation. I think Kyle Shanahan knows what he has in Deebo, and in life for Kyle Shanahan is better when Deebo's around. I think Trey feels that way. I think most of the team feels that way. It's just about whether the front staff and the guys that are the front office and the guys that are signing the checks, think that is the case as well. But it's looking more and more not good.
Yeah, and the other piece about that too is, they just had at the owners meeting last month, you had the question be asked to Kyle Shanahan, about Deebo Samuel. What's your thoughts on bringing him back? And he said he'd be in favor for it. This might be a situation where, again, last year the 49ers with Parag Marathe and the way that he does business, they were on the verge of losing their left tackle, who everybody believes is one of the best left tackles in the NFL. I'm not necessarily in that category where I believe that he's, quite as great as everybody, but he's really good. He's in the top 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever left tackles in the league. But the 49ers were on the verge of losing him. And it took Kyle Shanahan getting involved and having to intervene in order for it to happen. And so it sounds like we might be going down that road again.
Hopefully, if Shanahan does that, he will officially be goated in my book, but he needs to do it soon because time's running out.
Yeah, I agree. And then I'm going to pull this one up to another super chat from Double B Studio. Thanks again for the donation. He says, would you prefer Trey to do the Jimmy playbook or a new Trey playbook? Imagine Trey being the quarterback with Jimmy's playbook in 2019 and last year.
I think you've been out front on this, Jack. So I'll let you take this away.
Okay, no, thanks for doing. I was hoping you were going to say that, but I was trying to be a gentleman and let the guests go first. But no, absolutely. If I would love for Trey Lance to be able to be the quarterback in 2021, 2022 with the same exact playbook and everything that we've seen from the 49ers over the last 5 years of this regime. It all fits perfectly with who Trey Lance is. Trey Lance is a pocket quarterback who will kill you from the pocket because that's what he wants to do. But he also has the ability to move, unlike any quarterback the 49ers have had in the last 5 years. So for me, Trey Lance is at his best when you ask him just to play quarterback. Get rid of the stuff. Forget what you asked him to do in Arizona. That was the worst case scenario of what you would do with Trey Lance. You let Trey Lance work play action underneath stuff, and then you do some shot plays off of it. Everything in the 49ers playbook, all the main plays that they run, they're staples. You saw Trey Lance run at North Dakota State. I have a video on my YouTube channel, this channel here. Go check it out when you're done. Go in there, go to my page, type in, do a search. Why Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers fell in love with Trey Lance. You'll see video of him running plays at North Dakota State, followed by plays of him running basically the 49ers running basically the same play with other quarterbacks. So give me Trey Lance in this normal 49ers offense every day of the week.
Absolutely. And I think that to the casual, Jack, the offense will look different, even if they keep it the same, just because Trey is willing to take shots that are in the offense that maybe that the team probably never saw or fans never saw, because Jimmy was reluctant to take some of those throws or throw a little bit deep. So the offense will look like it's more opened up, even though it's the same scheme that Shanahan has always ran. Because you mentioned it on multiple shows, that deep route is very consistently open. Jimmy just was reluctant to make that throw. Trey isn't going to be reluctant to make that throw. So it might look like a different offense, but it'll still be the same offense based off of just the choices that Trey would make over Jimmy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's what's the one piece with the 49ers offense is just how often there are deep guys open that weren't getting the ball. And I think you see that increase with Lance just running the normal stuff. Another super chat, this one from Victory Street Ministry. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. They ask, trade scenario with Carolina, Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo Samuel in exchange for Christian McCaffrey, the number 6 overall pick, and Robbie Anderson. Your thoughts? I'll let you take this one first.
I mean, look, this is only if Deebo has to be traded, right? Because I'm on the side that they need to keep Deebo at all costs. Um, I mean, I don't know about the points and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I think that the number 6 would be a great, pickup, right? You could get a premium talent for that. Christian McCaffrey, I don't know how much he will add because, he's in and out with injuries and stuff like that. Robbie Anderson is a decent receiver. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you get Jimmy off your books, but getting Jimmy and Deebo off your books, that's the whole problem. If Jimmy's off your books, you still have Deebo. So I don't know. That it doesn't excite me. Let's just put it that way, Jack.
Yeah, I don't like this one. I mean, if I could go Jimmy Garoppolo for Christian McCaffrey straight up, I might do that one. Right. But I'm not going to do Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo for an injured running back and a receiver that's okay. He's okay, but he's not
Right.
he's not he's not going to give you Deebo stuff. The 6 overall pick is cool. But again, I don't think you get I don't that's the problem here is at least for me, I don't think you're going to get the value back for what you're losing by moving off of Deebo Samuel. There's not another Deebo. We've heard this. You've heard me say this too many times already as well. But everybody in the NFL is looking for a Deebo Samuel.
Right.
You've already got Deebo Samuel. You've got the ability to give him $27 million $20 million this year, if you wanted to. Make it happen.
Make it happen. I'm with you, Jack.
And then see that the more we talk, the more Double B Studio comes in. We went from $1.99 to $4.99. Now we're up to $9.99. And this guy's my favorite, but I really appreciate it. This is good stuff. And he says, Grant wants to see 12 versus 12 football with Lance, but I'd prefer Jimmy's playbook. Run only when pocket collapses. Historically, running quarterbacks don't last long in the NFL, and I think Kyle's might screw it up. So,
I don't know. I don't know so much about what Grant wants to see, but I do know that Lance naturally isn't somebody that just wants to run, right? I would like to see it more how we're seeing Buffalo use Josh Allen, where it's pass first, but he could still get a lot of yards with his legs when it's opportunistic to do so. But Lance isn't going to be a run first guy. He's looking to throw the ball down the field, win games with his arm versus his legs. The added benefit of having his mobility, I think, will help him in the pocket. And then when a play breaks down, there's still that opportunity to still get a good amount of yards scrambling. But I would want to see Lance anywhere between like 30 to 40 yards rushing per game, and most of those on scrambles versus called runs for him.
Yeah, and I'm with Double B Studio here on what he's really saying is he meant to put 11 on 11 because 12 versus 12 is Canadian football. but the 11 on 11 football is the designed runs, right? So that takes you back to the Arizona game.
Right.
Right. And so I think what Double B here is saying is that he wants to see Lance. He would prefer Lance running the playbook, running only when necessary. And I agree with him saying that historically running quarterbacks don't last long in the NFL because of the punishment that they take. And you're right. I mean, Steve Young has said that as well, right? Steve Young,
right.
One of his biggest things that he always talked about with Colin Kaepernick and some of the other young quarterbacks, he still does it now with the quarterback out in Baltimore, is that you need to learn how to play from the pocket. You can be a running quarterback, that's great, but you need to be able to you win from the pocket. You're going to make some plays with your legs, but you're going to win Super Bowls from the pocket, not running around and scrambling like they do. And so with Double B Studio on this one, I agree with you. I'd rather see them do that. And that's really who, like Suneil was saying, that is who Trey Lance is. Trey Lance is not a running quarterback in the way that you think of the quarterback out in Baltimore, for example, maybe even the quarterback up in Chicago. He's more of a pocket passer who has the ability to run if necessary, but he doesn't want to run the ball. He's always a pass first guy. And here he put another one. Thanks again for the super chat, keeping us on track. He says, I agree with you guys. My concern is the Arizona game. And I agree. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, but I think that's more on Shanahan than it was on Trey. Yes. Obviously, he's the play caller. I think if you look at the second half of the Houston game, that's probably more what I believe they'll build upon and expand upon. And that's what I would expect more from Trey starting next season.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny. I wrote an article today talking about Trey Lance taking over. If you look at go to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com, the article was titled was started off about Jimmy Garoppolo not showing up to training camp, but it dovetailed into Trey Lance and kind of what his direction is, right? And he did a podcast with Rich Eisen during Super Bowl week, and he talked about a lot of different things, and one of those being Deebo Samuel as a guy that he can throw to. Another one being, getting on the same page um, with Kyle Shanahan, and I think that's the biggest piece. And you kind of hit on it, Suneil. Kyle Shanahan he struggled to see the game in the same way that Trey Lance was seeing it. And part of it was Lance even talked about, the whole shuffling back and forth and how hard it was to do it. And when you throw them out there for a play or two here and there, it's like throwing them out there for a trick play kind of thing. Because you don't know how the defense is going to respond. So
yeah, and I think that one thing that I've realized about Kyle is, his first, I think is 15 scripted plays a big role in how he's going to call the rest of the game, because he's scripting plays to see how defenses will play him. Well, if Trey's not in any of those 15 scripted plays, it's hard to tell how the defense is going to play. So I think that this offseason, especially with them talking as often as they are, and building a better relationship, knowing that Trey is going to be the starter, I expect great things from Kyle as a play caller and Trey as a player as well.
Yeah, for sure, I do too. Now that takes us over. Let's change gears a little bit. We've been talking about Deebo Samuel quite a bit, really, and I think we're going to be talking about him for about another week at least,
right?
At this level. But also just kind of staying on the quarterback path, and it does involve the guy that was throwing the ball to Deebo Samuel quite a bit last year, and that's Jimmy Garoppolo. The latest on Garoppolo came out that he's not going to be attending the workouts. He's not in Santa Clara now, and he's going to be working out on his own, and he won't be showing up. So just kind of want to get your thoughts on that really quick.
Yeah, I mean, I never expected. I mean, he can't throw, so I don't know what, is he going to rehab with the team? I don't know. I think the writing's on the wall with his situation, right? So I think that it's better for him just to not be around. It makes it easier to just let it be about Trey. And I think that at the end of the day, Jimmy's either going to get cut or traded when it's opportune for the 49ers to do so. So I don't read too much into this. I think that Jimmy's days with the 49ers are numbered. I wish they were done sooner, but the 49ers made a choice to try to get assets for him, or they don't want to pay that extra $7.5 million to just cut him. So this is where we're at.
Yeah, no, it's where we are, and I agree with you. It was one of those situations where obviously it makes sense for him not to show up, and it really makes sense for Trey Lance in a lot of ways here too. I know early on in the offseason, and I still do kind of feel like, hey, if they want to have a quarterback competition, then let's go and do it. But at the same time, this is the opportunity with Jimmy Garoppolo not even around for Trey Lance to really come out and take over ownership of the 49ers and show that he's a leader, get everybody behind him. He won't have Garoppolo around, and I think it's his time to shine.
Can I put some maybe breaking news?
It depends on what you're going to tell me, because I might break down. It depends on
All right, so there's this thing that we're talking about with Taekwon Samuel, right? So I sent you the tweet. And obviously this is not necessarily we don't know. Obviously this is Deebo's brother, but who knows if he's speaking for Deebo. But anyways, the tweet goes, a guy said trade Deebo, trade him. Taekwon Samuel, who's Deebo's brother, says, "Don't worry, we asking for a trade." Then he responded to that and said, "He won't be a 49er. That's all that matters."
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Obviously, we don't know who that guy is. Maybe it's his brother. Maybe it's not. People are alleging that it's his brother. But if that is the case, Jack, it's not looking good.
No, it could be reality. I don't know Deebo Samuel's family tree, unfortunately, so I can't confirm nor deny.
Right.
So yeah, it's not good news in any case. The other thing, since we're talking about that, and we kind of went off.
My
Talk,
bad. Brought it back to Debo.
I think you decided to come back with an end around. I see how you are, Kyle Shanahan. No,
Right.
but we just talked about Jimmy Garoppolo not showing up, and that brings us to the discussion. Trey Lance given indications that he's going to be this 49er starting quarterback in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, was the indication that they brought in Brian Greasy specifically to help a young quarterback learn how to navigate through the NFL over, maybe somebody who's more established or whatever the case may be? Was the indication bringing in a guy like Anthony Smith, who's worked with, offensive, like has been an offensive coordinator or worked with quarterbacks that have similar skill sets to Trey Lance? Or was the indication that they came out in the exit interview and said that they're going to trade Jimmy, or Jimmy's going to be a great quarterback for some other team? So I think this has always been the direction that it's going. They're just slow playing it, obviously, because initially it was like they needed to build value in Jimmy. Well, now there's no way you could build value in Jimmy. It is either a team's going to want him or not. No tricks the 49ers could play at this point to get a first round instead of a second round. Now they're basically going to take whatever they could get. But this has been Trey's team ever since the season was over last year.
Yeah, I agree, and the the whole given indication thing's interesting. It goes in different directions, and definitely think that he's been given indications. If you go back to like I said earlier, the Rich Eisen podcast that he was on, he talked about that he was going to be the starter, or not that was his goal, was to be the starter. He was asked if he was told there'd be a quarterback competition, and he said no, that was never talked about. And he was also of the belief that it's going to be his team, right? He kind of what he said. He kind of backed off it after he said, after that. But this is his Trey Lance's deal. The other thing, and I haven't said this, but the other thing that came out in that I heard in when it comes to Trey Lance is that he got along really good with Nate Sudfeld last year. There was really good communication between Lance and Sudfeld. So that part of the podcast made it make sense to me why Nate Sudfeld got $2 million this offseason.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We shall see, man.
Yeah. I believe that it's going to be Trey Lance's team. I've said that from for a while. I thought that there were pretty much all off season. I've said I think it's going to be Trey Lance's team. I wouldn't mind there being a quarterback competition. Trey Lance is going to prove that he's the better quarterback anyway. Yada yada yada. So right. that's been my point throughout. Also, you have Alex Mack news today. Oh, I don't know. Was it really news?
Yeah, I mean, it was to me, Jack, because I think there was a date that Alex Mack earned some guaranteed money, and the date has passed. So I thought that Alex would announce either way, or at least him being on the roster still when that deadline hit for him, his contract to be guaranteed or whatever, kind of meant that he is going to be coming back. So that it's still up in the air, and that there's a report coming out that he still hasn't decided, to me is a little bit strange, because usually the 49ers, they had this same situation when they made the trade for Trent, right? They knew that the left tackle wasn't coming back, and they kept it under wraps and whatnot. And then they made the move with nobody really, knowing that they were even in the running for a left tackle. So for this to come out, it kind of, 49ers to me aren't a team that likes minimizing their options, right? So if they knew that this guy might not come back or whatever, I would think they'd keep it more secretive so that it doesn't play their hand at what they're going to do during the draft, whether it be drafting a center or making a move to trade for a center. So that's why it was a little bit of news to me, Jack.
Okay, and this is why I say it wasn't news, because we didn't learn anything new today. It was the same thing that we've known all along, is that he's undecisive with his future. It's never we haven't. There's never been a the 49ers came out during the owners meeting and said that the conversations had gone in a direction. They knew that he was working out and stuff like that, but there was no talk that he was actually going to come back, right? They kind of spun it in a positive way. They did that same thing, though, a couple of years ago with Joe Staley. The news today was really more of just it's still in a holding pattern. I think the most interesting thing for me today is that he he gave up $100 million or $100,000 by not showing up to workouts if he doesn't show up, because he has a workout bonus of 100K. So that's I think the biggest news out of today for me.
Must be nice to forego 100K, right, Jack?
Hey, I mean, he should just show up and like kick it down to me. I'll be fine with that.
All right. I could take 100K.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I mean, that's
a workout. I'll go work out for 100K. Did the 49ers want to give me a workout bonus?
Sure. And then on top of that, the other piece that goes along with the news that we heard of Mack, not showing up or being undecisive is the 49ers, Daniel Brunskill and Juwan Jennings. They signed their tenders today. So Brunskill will be back. Jennings will be back. I think the news on Brunskill here, here's what I would kind of how I see this possibly playing out is if Alex Mack doesn't come back, the starting center for the 49ers in 2020, week 1, will be Daniel Brunskill.
Nice. You think Brendel competing for that job or what?
They'll compete, I'm sure. Brunskill started 31 games in all 31 games in the regular season, 33 games for the 49ers at the last 2 years. Started 16 games in 2020. He started 17 last year. 8 of those starts coming at center in 2020 when they were doing that whole musical center thing. Last year with Mack, there really wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for Brendel. He's only played 3 snaps, or not 3, 6 snaps on offense. So there might be a competition there, and I think the competition would go between Brendel and Brunskill and a rookie, because I think they're going to draft one. So
yeah, I agree.
It would make slipping Brunskill in there would make the most sense to me.
Yeah, and I mean that gives a path to more to be that right guard, or if they draft somebody high in the draft as well, to compete for that. And then we have a nice mix of youth and veteran presence on that offensive line.
Yeah, and then also, you're looking at what's going to happen with Mike McGlinchey. If McGlinchey is fully healthy, then you could have a starting lineup that looks like left tackle is Trent Williams, and next to him is Aaron Banks, Brunskill in the middle, Moore at right guard, and out at right tackle is McGlinchey. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out over the next 4 months now we have left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this wasn't big news to me. I mean, I thought Brunskill and Jennings was just a matter of time. Obviously, Jennings, I think, is going to be even more important if Deebo ends up walking, right? So he might move from that third receiver to that second receiver, and we'll see. His obviously how he came on the tail end of last season. There's a lot of big expectations for what Jennings can bring to this team this season as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I'm high on Jennings. I think Jennings is a very strong number 3 receiver for the 49ers. It's one of the reasons why I don't see him going after a wide receiver early in the draft. I think that they're pretty well set in that area, 1 through 3 for this year, maybe not so much down the road. So, with these other free agents that the 49ers have brought in at that spot, I think they're pretty well set. They've done a really good job of getting themselves ready for this draft. That's a big point for me, I think.
I agree.
You're too agreeable. You're getting tired. I think I wore you out on all the Deebo Samuel.
No, I mean, hey, when you make sense, I agree with you. When you don't make sense, Jack, I'm at your throat. So you're just making a lot of sense. Look, at the beginning of the show, you were like, Suneil, you're talking me into going your way. And, that's the way to my heart. Like, if you're already saying that I'm winning arguments and I'm making you switch your mindset, hey, man, at that point, what am I going to do, Jack? I'm going to take the wins where I could get them, my friend.
Yeah. I think I must have screwed up there and gave you a little bit too much leeway, because I just wrote it down. I made some notes that next week, do not agree with Suneil, disagree with everything. The fans will like it more. I wrote it down. We're ready to go for next.
That's it. At that point, then I'm at your throat for sure.
There we go. There we go. You got any shows coming up?
Yeah, I'm gonna be on with Rohan tomorrow. Probably 7 o'clock on my channel. I love talking to the kid. He's doing some really, really great work. So definitely gonna be on with him. All right, after this, I'm on with Jesse, your partner in crime on the Jesse and Nail show, the Hammer and Nail show, and then I might be jumping in, man. If there's any breaking news, I'll just jump on my channel, talk about it, and chop it up with the fans.
There you go. There you go. So if you're not already subscribed to Suneil's channel, get over there, search up So Real Sports Talk TV here on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe. Does a good job over there. So get over there for him. And before we go, I want to say thanks to everybody in the comment section for joining. You guys really kept it lively tonight and allowed me to argue with you a little bit. Hopefully I wasn't too rough on you earlier on in the show, but I'm a big believer in Deebo Samuel. I just, like I said, I'm not a fan, but I've seen enough 49ers football that I feel like I have a pretty good handle on some of these things as we discuss them. It's funny. I wonder how many folks actually saw Jerry Rice from '85 to the time he left. Right, like him from his first home game until his last. Because I know one guy who did, but I wonder how many other ones got to see that.
I sure didn't.
Yeah, I know. See, I'm being smart. I'm being a punk right now. Sorry about that. But thank you everybody for joining. I really appreciate it. If you could do me a favor, hit that like button, click subscribe. Also hit that little bell notification so you know every time we go live. That'd be fantastic. I will not be streaming tomorrow unless there's some breaking news, and then I might come on really quick. But for the most part, I don't plan on being. I will be back on Thursday though with Jesse, as Suneil said, for the Hammer and Nail show. So keep it locked in right here to the channel. Appreciate everybody who joined. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Take care, everybody.